Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Well, we've got an absolutely tremendous show. We've got some great guests on. We're going to talk about some great topics, and it's going to be a lot of information that you'll be able to put to use today to make your life better. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsors for well over a decade now, the folks at Warren Henry Automotive. We love them. They've been sponsors of our show, helping us bring this content to you now for well over a decade. Remember, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's our friends at Warren Henry. Thanks to Eric, Warren, Larry, Ismet, Maytal, and the rest of the team. Gio, I love them all. And now, on with the show. Mr. Mendoza, please bring in our guests. Where's Bruce? There he is. Magical. It's magical. There he is. So we've got a great show for you today. We're going to start out with Candace Chin-Fat. She's with Langan Engineering and Crew Miami. She's the director of their signature events, and they've got one coming up that I'm looking forward to attending on Friday. And then we've got Bruce Turkel, who's going to talk to us about graceful degradation, easy for me to say, innovation, and all kinds of great stuff. I'm sure we'll get to the 7 steps. I always love those. So Candace, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Jim, for having me. So Jim, as you know, Crew Miami, we're an organization here helping women, empowering women in commercial real estate. Just a little bit of, history. Crew Miami, we were founded in 1987 by some pioneering women. We are actually one of, I think, over 70 chapters now. Crew Network is a global organization. And our mission here is empowering women through real estate, through business networking, industry research, leadership development, and career outreach. And so one of the ways that we do empower these women is by providing scholarships. And so our signature event upcoming this Friday, it's called the High Tea. It's going to be the East Hotel from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The High Tea signature event is meant to fundraise so that we can provide scholarships to young women that are pursuing degrees in commercial real estate. So I hope to see everybody there. I want to put out, I know not everybody loves to come to Miami, but we are right off of the Bright Line and the Metro Mover, and valet parking is included.
Oh, it's a tremendous location. It'll be a tremendous event. It's open to men to attend, right? I plan on going.
Of course. Men and women. Anybody that wants to support women in commercial real estate.
I want to support everybody. Women's just one of the groups I love supporting. Now, I know some of your founders from back in the day, and Crew Miami has really grown. Can you tell me a little bit more about what they can expect if they go to the High Tea and how they get more information?
Sure. You can. So first of all, you can visit our website. It's crewmiami.org. We're going to have light bites. There's going to be beverages. There's going to be tea, of course. And please feel free to get dressed up. It is an Alice in Wonderland theme. So I know I have some ladies that are getting dressed up in their fascinators. The gentlemen are going to come out in their top hats. And I think it's very fitting because we just had the coronation of King Charles last weekend. So, we're keeping the theme, and we want to keep the British theme rolling this weekend.
Now, some of the recipients of the scholarship in the past, I guess they've gone on for successful careers here in Miami?
That is correct. And we are going to have some of our most recent scholarship winners attending so they can give, some testaments on how this scholarship has helped advance their careers.
That's tremendous. And who are some of your sponsors that are going to be helping us raise scholarship money?
I'm glad you asked. So I do want to give a shout out to our High Tea sponsors this year. We have the Miami Downtown Development. We have Langan Engineering, of course, Landry Saavedra, Pantropic Power, U.S. Century Bank, RMB General Contractors, Miller Construction, Gaia Consulting Partners, and Atlantic Southern Paving.
Yeah, Tracy Miller's an old friend. She's tremendous. She's
Tracy's
tremendous.
always there. I actually went by her office today to pick up some of the items. So
Oh, that's
always
great.
supporting. Yep.
That's great. Well, listen, I really want to thank you for coming on. And again, where can people get more information?
Crewmiami.org.
And is there a covert or and what are some sponsorship levels and how do they get more information on sponsorship?
You can reach out to me directly, Candice, cchinfat@langan.com. Or you can find me on my LinkedIn profile, or once again, crewmiami.org. You can click in there. I don't want to give all of the aftertones, but you go into events and the high tea should show up there.
I can't thank you enough, Candice, for coming on and spending your time. I know you've got a hard stop at 12:30. You're more than welcome to stay for our interviews with Bruce or depart at any time that's convenient for you. But thank you so much to you and Crew. I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends from Crew Miami at that event. It's going to be tremendous.
Thank you so much, Jim, for having me. And I would love to stay on. I want my mind to be bended by Bruce.
Okay, well, we're on with the Uri Geller of minds. Bruce Turkel, you like that, huh? You like that, how I came up with that. Bruce is our favorite personal branding and personal self-development expert and is the quintessential definition of all the things he talks about because he does them first and tries them out on himself and his friends. So I want to thank Bruce for being here today. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Happy to be here.
Now, let's get as current as we can. I got an email from you today about graceful degradation. It talked about an escalator, but it really does really hit home to a lot of the people in the real estate industry because the escalator has somewhat shifted gears in real estate, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means it's different.
Well, as you know, I wrote my last book, Is That All There Is?, about people who have successful lives and then change, then pivot, do something different. I started writing the book before COVID. And of course, I like to have people believe that I knew this was going to happen. So I wrote the book, but it wasn't true. I wrote a book on people changing their lives right before everybody in the world needed to change their lives. This whole concept of pivoting, of changing, of having a plan B, of trying a new direction, I find it absolutely fascinating. Now, if you layer that on with a couple of the speaking gigs that I've had in the last couple of weeks, believe it or not, I've spoken at 3 different real estate conferences around the country, one here in Miami, one in Portland, and one in Denver, all about people who are in an industry that is changing drastically. And to be fair, not changing because of anything these real estate brokers or these realtors have any control over, changing over external issues, interest rates, demand, what happened after COVID with people moving, geopolitical issues, so many different things are making consumers, buyers and sellers of residential and commercial real estate change the way they operate. Therefore, the people who make their living from this also need to change the way they operate. So I've been looking at different ways of doing this, different ways throughout history, best practices that have worked. And while I was doing that, I came across this concept of graceful degradation. The concept is that things will fail. Building a fail-proof process is impossible. As my friend Dave Bricker says, if you build an idiot-proof device, the world will just invent a better idiot. And I think that happens to be true. Things are going to fail. So the realistic attitude is not, don't believe they're going to fail, just build for sunny days and good weather. But in fact, how do you construct for, and I don't mean construct as in real estate, although that's part of it, but how do you construct your business, your life, your strategy, your organization in Candace's case? How do you construct it to be able to be nimble, to be able to be resilient, to be able to be adaptable? So when things happen, you have alternatives. And again, that's where this concept of graceful degradation comes from. But more importantly, the concept of graceful degradation is that things are going to degrade, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. And the comedian Mitch Hedberg made a comment that explained it to me perfectly. It was the headline of my article. He said, escalators never fail. They simply become stairs. And it's funny and it's clever, but when you think about it, that's incredibly profound. When an elevator stops working, it's a box, right? If you see an information booth and there's nobody in it, it's a booth. But when an escalator doesn't work, it's still perfectly functional. You can still walk up and down it. So how do we look at ways to use graceful degradation in our lives? And I just think that's a fascinating concept.
Well, 15 years ago, during the Lehman Brothers collapse, I came up with the idea of the radio show, now the podcast, to remain top of mind and create new ideas and share time with thought leaders and build relationships like I'm doing with Candace and the crew Miami folks. And so I think that I've built a pretty good machine. And then I've just begun to evolve into the digital real estate tokenization, securitization. We're going to actually talk about that again on the show next week. And that is actually something I learned a little bit about 10 years ago when I went for a couple of securities licenses. And now I'm putting all of that into play right now. And it's all kind of re-coming together. And it would never, the idea in real estate capital is that as long as the money's been free, no one's needed to think of anything new. Now that the money became historically priced, and by the way, the interest rates today are basically about where they have been averaged for 30 years. It's just that the government primed everything with all of these free money programs. And now the capital is stopped. Something needs to change. And the way I go through it and I talk about it is that when commercial paper froze, Michael Milken created junk bonds. When real estate financing froze during the RTC days, a guy named Ethan Penner, one of Milken's proteges, created more securities in the CMBS market. Today, capital is frozen. And when I would call people about this idea a year ago, they'd say, hey, money's free. Talk to me later. And they would hang up. Now I've got a list of people that want to meet, get demos, get on the platform. And the technology is already existing. My broker dealer that I'm working with has already invented it, but people aren't aware of it. It needs to be translated into real estate person from tech person. The tech people want to know why people aren't doing this. And there's a couple reasons. First, they don't talk real estate to them. Real estate's a whole language, number one. And number two, when the money was free, they didn't need this. Now that money's not free, I'm getting calls and responses from the biggest real estate operators across the country, the biggest lenders and banks across the country. And it's providing me with the ability to talk to them and do more than just create a pipeline of deals that may or may not happen, but actually create a whole new, as one of the due diligence firms said, a whole new lane. They don't even know how to do the due diligence report to their clients, the family offices, the institutional lenders, and the registered investment advisors. You and I call them stockbrokers, Bruce. That I've invented a whole new lane. And that's what we're talking about here. And again, I have to say, Bruce, thank you so much for being my coach, thought leader, and motivator on all this new thought stuff. Bruce, you're on mute.
I did that on purpose while you were talking, and I told myself I will remember, and I didn't. You are using graceful degradation, understanding, even before it failed, when money was free, understanding that something was going to happen. The example that I use also is I get these emails email marketing from all these guys who do webinars and seminars, and they're trying to sell you something. And it always talks about, what are you going to do? The recession is coming, house on fire, everything's burning down, recession is coming. Well, here's the news flash. A recession is always coming.
Yes.
It's just a matter of when. Yes. And the problem is they don't know when, they just know it's going to happen. So there is no prognostication in telling me that a recession is coming. You know, if you walk into a fortune teller's tent and the first thing they say is, hi, nice to meet you. What's your name? You should turn around and walk out. Because clearly they are not capable of doing what they're recommending they're going to do for you. What I love about you, what you did was you put together this model when there was not necessarily a use for it, because you knew it would hit the fan at some point. You didn't know when, but you were prepared for when it happened. In the introduction to your show, Reagan says something which I love. I wrote it down. He says, Jim Fried, he always has an opinion and he's always willing to share it. You know what it doesn't say? And he's always right, because that's not actually the important part. it will become right eventually. And that's the idea of graceful degradation. We don't know when the escalator is going to fail. If the brakes in your car fail, they have been designed with graceful degradation in mind. The front brake system and the rear brake system are separate. So if the rear brakes fail, the front brakes still work. If you're in an airplane and you're looking out the window and you see one of the engines is on fire, that's something to be scared about. However, airplanes are designed to fly on one engine. So even if 3 go out, the airplane will still fly. The idea is that these things are thought about ahead of time. The great saying, saving money for a rainy day, is a perfect example. We don't know when the rainy day is coming. We do know it's going to come. And you are an excellent example of how you prepared for this. And now people are interested in what you're doing.
I've actually been working on this idea for almost 2 years now. I have a partner in New York that's much smarter than I am. So I like to say that my role in the whole process is to say, hi, I'm Jim. The guy's name is Jim. Hi, I'm Jim. You got to meet Jim in New York. He's my smart avatar. And then he can talk all the technical part. And I'm talking to the entrepreneur. He talks to the capital markets person or their securities person. And basically all I'm really doing is for many, many years, I like to say that the real estate syndication business started on a golf course with 4 people playing golf at the Riviera. Since we're in Miami, the Riviera Country Club. There was a developer, an orthodontist, an orthopedist, and a tax attorney. And the tax attorney said to the developer, what if I could help you pull out all your money of that deal? And he turned to the 2 doctors and said, what if I could reduce your taxes 3 or 4 to 1? And that's when the real estate syndication business began. Fast forward to today, and all I'm doing is helping people modernize and cut their costs. All I'm doing is helping them do that real estate syndication, the real estate token. That's the filing cabinet. Now there's no filing cabinet.
So you want to hear an interesting thing? I've heard you talk about what you do a number of times. I've been on your show. We're friends. We've had coffee together. We've worked together. And I've heard you describe it in detail. But I've never before heard you say the words you just said, which is all I'm doing is help people lower their costs, lower their expenses, and control their costs.
Right.
But I've never heard you say that before. And you know that the number 3 rule of the 7 points that we've gone over time after time after time is what? Make it simple. And you just made it simple. I finally understand what you do. I never have before. And you did it by telling a story, which is another thing we've talked about a million times. I know, don't exaggerate. Okay, it was only 100,000. But that no point without a story, no story without a point. Your story of where the syndication market came from, all of a sudden, I get it. I never understood it before. I thought it was just an investment vehicle where people put money in. Never dawned on me that allows the developer to build without their own cash, opium, other people's money. And then it allows people who generate a lot of cash with low expenses to be able to add an expense side to their balance sheet and save taxes and save on cost. I never knew that before you told a story. You just taught me 2 things that you should have taught me years and years ago, or I should have picked up years and years ago. But your simple way of communicating did it beautifully.
We're going to take a quick break. Candace, well, first of all, thank you, Bruce. I actually tell the story in chapters. I go chapter by chapter, and it leads breadcrumbs to where the finish line is. Usually I'm the kind of person I go straight to the bottom line, but in this case, I have to lead people by breadcrumbs, and by the end, they totally get it. I have all kinds of other little stories with it. But Candace has been so nice to stick with us during this part. I know she has to go in a couple minutes. Candace, let's replug your event here.
Okay, Crew Miami, High Tea, East Hotel this Friday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to have silent auction. We're going to have light bites and drinks and lots of pinkies up.
And the purpose is?
To raise funds for our scholarship fund.
And you've been doing this for years. How much scholarship money have you guys raised over this period of time? You folks, I shouldn't say guys.
Oh, I don't know if I know the exact number, but we do award at least 2 scholarships, $5,000 each every year. We're hoping to increase that.
That's tremendous. Candace, I want to thank you and crew for coming on and being part of the show. I look forward to being a part of your event. The cause is great. I'm always about helping the next generation get a leg up because the real estate is a mentorship business. And that's what Crew is really all about. I want to thank you. and the rest of your team at Crew. Would you like to give a shout out to anybody else from Crew?
Karen Marty, thank you, Karen, for introducing us to Jim and getting us out here. And Bruce, my mind is bent. I think I'm going to tune in later to get the rest of the breadcrumbs.
Well, best of luck with your event, Candace. It sounds wonderful, and it sounds like a wonderful cause.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And now, Mr. Mendoza, it's time for you to do your thing, and we'll be back with Bruce and more great tips after this. So I'm sitting here writing down my notes about what I do, and it's cut costs and increase efficiency. Of course, Mr. Turkel gets right to the bottom line. You know who else gets right to the bottom line? Our sponsors for well over a decade, our friends at Warren Henry. Thank you so much to Larry, Eric, Ismet, Maytal, the whole team, Gio, everybody over there at Warren Henry. We really do appreciate the sponsorship. We really do appreciate how they treat our friends and family as their friends and family. So when you're looking to buy or lease a car, everybody knows you want to get the best experience and the best value that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry Land Rover. Hold on. Finally did it. I've been threatening to do this for weeks. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, and now Lincoln at their store on 151st and Biscayne. Down in the Keys, they've got a store that sells all the great nameplates. And up in Gainesville, I've been referring my friends that drive Audi up to their Gainesville store. They're tremendous folks up there, great store, great cars. What do all these cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. The Warren Henry Advantage is a great list of things that you get, including, of course, being a member of the Warren Henry family and having them treat you with respect and kindness. You get all kinds of little tchotchke things they do for you, very important things to me, at least. I've lost my keys. They've replaced them. Those keys are really expensive. We learned about how hard they can be to get with that computer chip shortage back in the day. I like to keep my car out of the street so it doesn't get sideswiped. I end up scraping up the rims against the side. They polish up the rims and keep the car looking great over there. When you're trading in your car, you want to make sure you get the best value. They'll guarantee that you are. When you want to buy your car, you want to make sure you're getting the best price for either your lease or purchase. They'll make sure you do. They'll give you 3 days to make sure you like your car. You can trade it back into them. Nobody ever does that because they're all tremendous cars. Join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Well, here we are. We're on the show. We're talking to Bruce Turkel about all kinds of things, including innovation. And I think at this point, everybody kind of knows that I'm a pretty good innovator. Bruce has told me how I'm helping people cut costs and increase their efficiency with my real estate tokenization platform that's coming into view. We've got some great relationships we're bringing to the table, and we're going to talk again about that on next week's show. I'm working with people from all over the world, from New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Europe, all kinds of people from all over the world are working with us to do this real estate tokenization. It's time for new sources of capital. We're also, of course, still talking to people that do the traditional meat and potatoes of CMBS, land sales, investment advising, and equity contribution. We're helping a bunch of people raise equity and debt for their opportunistic real estate funds, as well as their opportunistic real estate transactions. So if you're looking to participate in the current changing real estate environment, reach out to me. As we've been saying in this entire program, I've been working to be ready for when this happens for my entire career. And gosh darn it, I'm ready. So call me. Let me help you. I'll bring my gray hair to the table. I've been through a lot of these cycles. I've survived them all. Let me help you survive and thrive. Remember, and this part goes out, high five to Bruce Turkel, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by solving their problems and bringing them peace of mind. So reach out, call me, DM me, connect with me. Why? Because whenever you call me, it's always Again, high five to Bruce Turkel. Always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're back with Bruce Turkel, the master of change, innovation, and good vibes all around. Bruce?
I'm here.
No harmonica needed, but maybe later. So, we've talked about how the marketplace has been degrading, how, as they would say on Star Trek, our orbit is degrading and decaying, and we're going to crash into the planet unless we get our afterburners reworking. Scotty, please, I need warp speed immediately. So that means we need innovation. How do people innovate?
Well, there's a number of ways to innovate. Some innovations come from hard work, seeing a problem, trying to solve it. Some innovations come from bumping into something, random access, and then saying, wait a second, I could use this that way. Some innovation comes from enormous amounts of investment. But it all comes from a culture of open-mindedness and willingness to try new things, and also willingness to fail. Unfortunately, you cannot innovate if you're not willing to make a mistake. And the idea they say about innovation is to always fail quickly. Go through your problems, figure it out, and move on to the next thing. The other thing that innovation requires is adaptability. You have to be willing to try things in different ways than you've done it before, with the idea that the innovation may not actually solve the problem that you have, but if you're adaptable, may solve another problem. The classic example is whoever invented the adhesive for Post-it notes. Imagine working for 3M, the tape company, and coming up with an adhesive that doesn't actually stick that well. Yeah, it stays on, but then it falls off, or it doesn't. What good is that? And then somebody said, wait a second. Here's what you could do with it. And they invented Post-it notes. And Post-it notes is just, whether the story is true or apocryphal is kind of irrelevant. The idea is that somebody was adaptable enough to look at it and say, you know what, maybe this didn't accomplish this, but look what else you could do with it. And now you can't imagine sitting at a desk or being in an office without Post-it notes. I've got them right here on my office. I use them all the time. There you go.
What I've been taking my notes on. I'm going, where's the big piece of paper? I said, the heck with it. I'll just use Post-it notes. So, and I've got like a rainbow of colors in my drawer for the really important.
Yeah, I have those as well. And think about it. It's one of the few products that you cannot think of an alternative or another brand.
There really isn't, even though they're out there.
Or sticky notes, but there's nothing else.
Crayons.
Well,
another one.
Yeah, but if you get crayons on the rug, you have to use your you get your your blow dryer and your solvent and get it out. You don't have to do that with Post-it notes.
So here we are. You've spoken at a whole bunch of conferences for real estate people recently. You've seen the turmoil that they're facing. You understand the angst that they're facing. Many of them, if they're under 50, they've never seen what's about to hit them. And we've been in the period of free money. I recognized that period was ending, and I went to find alternative financing vehicles. We're going to talk about the way I did that on my next show next week. But Bruce, for people that are just at the crossroads here, and they're asking, is that all there is? What are some of the methodologies that they can use to find out what their next step is?
Well, what I found, I spoke to over 50 people who were in the process of changing their lives or who had successfully changed their lives. And I looked at what they did. I looked at what they did that agreed, the patterns that they all followed. I looked at the things they did that disagreed, where somebody said I did this and someone else said I did this other thing, and they were polar opposites. And I tried to figure out exactly the answer to the question you're asking, which is, what's the right thing to do? I can tell you there's lots of different ways to skin that cat. There's lots of different routes to take to get to where you want to go. However, the key is not in the adaptation. The key is not in the pivot. The key is not in the change. The key is much more fundamental than that. The key is quite simply knowing what you want. And what I found was that that's incredibly rare. If you ask people, well, let's do a little exercise. I'm going to ask all of the people listening to your show what they want. Now, I don't want you to answer out loud, but I do want you to answer with 1, 2, or 3 words. it would be best if you're not driving, if you could actually write it down on a piece of paper, because we can deceive ourselves very quickly after we hear the reasons about something. So what do you want? I want to be blank. What's the word? And I'll give you a second. I see you looking very hard into the ether to figure it out. Okay, so everybody knows what their word is. Again, don't say it out loud, but you know what it is, and you've documented it. You've memorialized it. You've written it down, or you could record it on your phone or whatever. Write it on your Post-it note and put it on the steering wheel of your Warren Henry car. Whatever you want to do with it. But you know what that word is. Now, I will tell you what those words are, because people only use 3 words. I won't tell you the exact word because, there can be synonyms. People describe things with different words. But I will tell you what the only 3 things anybody ever says is, I want to be rich. You might have said, I want to have a lot of money, or I want to be successful, or I want to be solvent, or whatever, but I want to be rich. I want to be happy. And the third is, I want to be fulfilled, successful, have purpose, however you chose to say it. Those are the only 3 that I've ever come across that people say. But all 3 of those have a problem, which is they are rather squishy terms. What does rich mean? Does rich
How much
mean
is enough?
How much is enough? That's right. Does rich mean you can buy, you have your own airplane? Does rich mean you're sitting up front in first class? Does rich mean you can fly and coach whenever you want? Does rich mean you can pay your rent? Does rich mean, it means different things to different people. Rich is not a marker in the sand. It is a suggestion of goal fulfillment, but it's not something that we can actually measure. What is rich? Like you said, what is enough? So that's number 1. Number 2, people say, I want to be happy. Well, what does that mean? You want to walk around laughing all the time or smiling? Happiness is not a consistent frame of mind, and it's not a consistent state. So you want to be in an opium den where you're laying on a bed and you're content because you're drugged. There's lots of ways that people define happiness, but happiness is not a thing. And then the third one, I want to be successful. I want to be fulfilled. I want purpose. Okay. Do you want business purpose, family purpose? Do you want patriotic purpose? Do you want religious purpose? Do you want spiritual purpose? Are you wondering, why am I here? Are you wondering, how can I be a best-selling author? It means different things to different people. So I suggest that if you want to figure out how to pivot, the first thing you do is you figure out quite clearly what you want. Are you saying one thing, or are you saying, hold on a second?
Hold on right there.
Okay.
So this is the way I say that, because I say it too. You don't have to hold that tight. So I say happiness is like a donut. You eat the donut, you feel great. Then after you're done with the donut, you say, oh my God, I just ate all that fat. Now I have to go to the gym for 5 hours to work off everything. And now I'm not happy anymore. To me, what people, and I say this in my ad, which I basically base on our conversations, I say people want peace of mind. All those 3 things basically lead somebody to peace of mind. And the way that you get peace of mind is by just being yourself. I say Exhibit A, Bear Bryant. The minute he stopped coaching football, the guy died. So you've pivoted from advertising guy to guru to all the things that you do now. You've pivoted, but you've always stayed the same. You've always been Bruce Turkel, idea man, person that brings content, person that brings good solutions to people, that brings them peace of mind. And by the way, I want to also talk about the way that you do that today with your mastermind groups that you lead. And now you're doing 2 at once, you dirty dog. You're getting it done twice as often. But let's just kind of pivot into that, okay? Tell me about what you've been doing, how you came up with it, and who participates and who benefits, like my friend Fred, who I've seen as one of your members. And I haven't seen your real list, but I know that a lot of people have benefited.
Well, you'll never see the list because it's private, but I guess
I don't want to see the list, but I know that some of them have been
shared that with you.
Yeah.
So when I was going through this exploration of how people pivot and how people change, and I figured out the different things you need to do, knowing what you want is the first of them, knowing what your HBU, your highest and best use is the second, knowing your skill stack is the third. There's a series of them. And I came up with exercises to help people figure it out. It dawned on me that just having the exercises wasn't enough. There had to be something else. So I created 3 levels, and I'll get a little in the details here, but I think people will find this interesting. 3 levels: DIY, DWI, and DFY. DIY, do it yourself. There's a website. It's called ITATI. Is that all there is? ITATI.me. Me, because it's you, right? And you go into ITATI.me, and there's 4 avatars. And you pick which avatar is closest to you. There's avatar number 1 that says, I want to change my life. I don't know what to do. And then we take you through the steps. There's avatar number 2 that says, I want to change my life. I know what I want to do. I don't know how to do it. And we take you through the steps. There's avatar number 3 that says, I want to change my life. I know what I want to do. I'm already doing it, but I'm not achieving the levels of success that I need in order to get to where I want to be. And then we show you how to do that. And then there's avatar number 4 that says, I don't want to follow any specific course. I just want to look at whatever's in there. We call that the salad bar avatar. Right? I like romaine lettuce and I like red onions. I don't want stinky cheese. Oh, I love well, take what you want. So we have those 4 avatars. That's ITATI.me. You sign up. It's a small monthly fee. All of the information is there. We constantly add more videos, suggestions, recommendations. There's a Facebook group. We do office hours every 2 weeks where we get on the phone for an hour, on the Zoom rather, and someone says, I'm doing this exercise, but I'm stuck. Okay, here's what you do. Or I've got this problem. I don't know how to handle it. Here's what you do. That's DIY. Do it yourself. Then we have DWI. That's done with you. And I set up a group called CE Only. CEO Only. See what I did?
You're pretty good, Bruce.
Yeah, well, and it's thanks, Regan, for putting it up. It's ceonly.me. And that's where you have access to all of this stuff, all of the avatars and everything else. But we have weekly group sessions where we get together. Now we're going to move it to every 2 weeks. People thought a week was just too intense because it is very intense. We only have 10 to 12 people in it. It's 2 hours. And we go through these different curriculums. I show how to do these exercises, have a little course where you can discover how to do it. And then we do hot seats where you will sit and you will talk about, here's where I am, here's where I want to get, here's what my problems are. And then we go around the room and everybody makes their recommendations. And then we do a summary. And then you get an accountability partner who says, okay, we decided that for you to get from here to here, you have to do these 4 things. And here's what you're going to do. And here's how you're going to do it. And that works amazingly well. And if we have some time, I'll tell you a great story about that, but we'll leave that for now. So that's DWI, done with you. And then we have DFY, done for you. And that's my consulting business. And that's where I come in. I do what I call a discovery day. We have dinner together. I take a full day with you. I understand what you're trying to accomplish, who your clients are, what your business is. And then I come back with recommendations. The tagline we use for the second 2, done with you, CE Only, and the discovery days is exclusive, explosive, expensive. However, I had a real estate client in Mexico that I did a program with, and they had 2 units left in their first phase. And I showed them how to re-message this and how to rebuild it. And about 3 weeks later, I got an email from her. And she said, we sold our last 2 units using what you recommended for $250,000 more than we had sold the other 10 units. So that's another $500,000 in revenue. She said, what do you think of that? And of course, I wrote back, I think I didn't charge you enough. So, yeah.
Tremendous ROI.
Yes, absolutely. And now
I think you need a testimonial from her.
Oh, I was about to say, she's my number 1 testimonial source. What I do is I just tell people, here's the last 5 people I worked with. You call them. You ask them if they got their money's worth. And then people call me back and hire me immediately. So that's what I've been doing. You can find all of this on my website, which is just my name, bruceturkel.com.
Well, that's great. Bruce, is it okay if we take a quick break and come back for one more segment? This stuff is tremendous. And
if I say no, what happens?
Then we go to break and then I come back and to summarize what we said, and then it's done.
So let's go. Take a break.
All right, Mr. Mendoza, you know what to do. All right. I want to thank everybody for being here today with Bruce Turkel, my personal partner in masterminding the future. Bruce is amazing, and I highly recommend all of the things that he set up. They have a different graduating scale of cost, and the results are the same. They're tremendous. Well, they're probably not the same. They're different. But in any event, the process is tremendous, and I benefited from not only being one of Bruce's friends, but being one of Bruce's collaborators and clients. The other people I love to collaborate with who are my clients is Warren Henry, now on for over a decade, sponsoring the show. I want to thank them as always for sponsoring. Thank you to Larry, Warren, Eric, Maytal, Gio, Ismet, all my friends at Warren Henry. They treat me like family. They're going to treat you. Oh, I forgot this part again. They're going to treat you like family too. So let's get going. If you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, and now Lincoln at 151st and Biscayne. They've got a gorgeous store up there. They've got a lot of the cars out there in Matchbox pop-ups. It's gorgeous. Why Warren Henry? Well, they give you every car that you buy. You get a whole list of services besides being a wonderful member of Warren Henry family and having direct contact with the leadership there and making sure that they're invested in your transaction. They will do a bunch of functional things for you too. They help me replace my keys. I lose my keys all the time. They help my cars my multiple cars stay looking gorgeous because I'm a close parker. I scrape them up I scrape my rims up on the curb all the time. They help me polish them up and make them look great. They make sure that you're getting the best value when you trade in your car. They make sure you're getting the best price on your lease or your purchase. They'll give you 3 days to make sure you like your car. You will. So join me, my beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, lots and lots of my clients and friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. Just sent somebody up to their Audi store in Gainesville. I forgot that part. They've got Audi up in Gainesville, and they sell all these great cars also down in the Keys. They're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry advantage there. Now I've tied it all together, but not necessarily in the order I usually do. So remember, always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Hey, everybody. Jim Freed, founder of Sandstone Realty Advisors. I've got 35, 40 years in the real estate business. I've been through it all, been through all the recessions since the RTC and even before that. Give me a call, reach out. I know what to do. I know how to change. I know that I also have the internal fortitude to make the changes, as you should too. But call me. I can advise you on the real estate stuff. Of course, I can do the traditional real estate transactions, CMBS, construction financing, raising debt and equity. I'm doing that for some of the biggest real estate operators and companies here in Florida. I'm now using an innovative new technique, which is, I call it syndication 3.0, where we're taking the internet to help people lower their costs and get better execution by using real estate digitization and tokenization. Last year, not the right time. This year, phone is ringing off the hook. Last year, money was free. This year, money's hard to come by. When money's hard to come by, it's time for new ideas and to surround yourself with innovators that have been working on it for more than just an hour. I've been working on this for years, and I'm teaming up with one of the best broker dealers in the space to create a whole platform. DM me, email me, text me, call me, and I'll help you understand what I'm doing. Remember, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by solving their problems and bringing them peace of mind. So remember, DM me, call me, reach out, because whenever you do, call me. It's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
We're back with real estate mastermind expert Bruce Turkel. He's the guru on how you can change from today into what you want to be tomorrow, and to identify what that is and what the methodology is. He does that through a variety of verticals on his website and through his business practice. Welcome back, Bruce Turkel, my favorite after dinner and keynote speaker, as well as my mentor.
No after dinner. I've done that Once. Actually, I've done it twice, the first time and the last time. No after dinner.
God,
After
too
dinner,
much
my band will play, but I'm not speaking after dinner.
Too much chicken. I love you, Bruce. So listen, one of the keys to me to being positive and successful during periods of change is being resilient. And in order to be resilient, I found that you need to surround yourself with people that believe in you, that help you towards your goal. And that's sort of what you've been doing in your process. You told us you were going to tell us a really cute story. I'm here. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's hear the story.
So my daughter moved from Washington, D.C. to L.A. And I had a free week and I had a speaking gig in Anaheim. So I flew to Washington, D.C. We rented a giant SUV and we drove cross country together, which was wonderful. And while we were doing it, she mentioned that in her yoga class, she has problems doing some of the exercises because she didn't think she had enough upper body strength. So I said, well, why don't we do push-ups to help you build up your upper body strength? She said, yeah, but I hate doing them. I said, okay, so we'll do them together. So every night when we got to the hotel, we would, after dinner, we'd go in the room and we would do our push-ups together. And before long, she could do more of them than I could. But once we went back to our lives, she told me she had stopped doing them. So we created an accountability thing. I run in the mornings. So I would send her a text that would show that little running guy icon and then the muscle guy icon, and then either a thumbs up or a check. And that meant I ran and I did my push-ups. If I didn't send that to her by 9, 10 a.m., whenever she was in LA, so 3 hours behind, she would send me a text that would be those icons with a question mark. I never wanted to get that question mark icon from her, so I would do my push-ups. So, and then she would send me one that showed the yoga pose and the muscles and the same thing. So now I'm in my group with a bunch of people, and we have a guy in our group who's a financial planner, very successful, and he's in his early 60s, and he's planning on retiring at 70. And he explained to us that the way you retire in his business is you sell your book. Your book is the amount of money you have under management and the amount of clients who trust you to invest their money. And he said it's purely a arithmetic equation. They know how much is in your book times how long these people have been with you, because loyalty is important because they don't want them to leave. And then they pay you a percentage. He says, so I have 10 years to grow my book. Okay. He says, I know how to do it. I'm a good cold caller. I hate cold calling, but he loved calling. I'm a good cold caller. He didn't love it. He knew how to do it. He said, and I know the equation. Jim, I forget it, but it doesn't really matter. He said, for example, if I make 100 calls, I speak to 18 people. If I speak to 18 people, I get 7 appointments. If I get 7 appointments, I'll get 2 sales. So 100 calls equals 2 sales. My average sale is X amount of dollars. So, and I want to hit this volume. So I need this many sales. He knew all the numbers. He said, the problem is, and I remember now, he says, I hate making cold calls. I'm good at it, but I don't like to do it. So his accountability partner, I told him the story about Allie and I and the push-ups and the running and the yoga. So he said, great. How many calls are you willing to make a day? He says, well, I know that in 50 weeks of a year, 5 days a year, I need to make 7 calls a day. If I make 7 calls a day, I will hit my number. Guy says, great. Every day at 7 p.m., I'm going to send you a text that's going to be telephone and a 7. And then the guy that's like this, right? And you're either going to write back telephone 7, thumbs up, or telephone 7, thumbs down. That means you didn't do it.
Right.
So the investment broker says, so here's what happened. Days would go by. Oh, I don't want to make those calls. Oh no, Mark's going to send me that text. He said, and I'd get on the phone and I'd start dialing. We call it dialing and smiling, right? Dialing for dollars. He said, my wife would say, honey, we got to go to dinner. We have to leave at 6. And I got to make 2 more phone calls. He'd say, I was hoping their voicemail would pick up because I didn't have to talk to them. I had to make the call. Now, obviously, you have to be honest, but he said, and so I did it. I made my 7 calls every day because I never wanted Mark to send me the thumbs down. He said, and now it's been a year, and here's the volume. It's more than I expected. If I keep doing this, I will make my number. I will retire with a great number and a great amount of money in the bank. Now, you hear that and you go, well, that's easy. I can do that myself. You could. What you couldn't do is figure it out. This guy knew how to make the calls. He knew what to do. He was good at his job. We didn't make him a better investment banker. I don't make you a better real estate guy. You don't make the guys at Warren Henry better car salesmen or car mechanics. What we do is we figure out how to get you to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish, how to make that pivot. And then we give you the tools you need to make it happen.
Sorry, I'm taking notes.
But remember, all of this goes back to knowing what you want. He knew what he wanted. He wanted to retire with X amount of money in his book, and he knew what it took to get there, and he knew what his skill sets were, and he knew what his highest and best use was, which was talking to people. So then all we had to do was build a structure around that to support that. But if he didn't know those things first, he never would have come to that conclusion.
You're so amazing. There's just practical, we talked about it. There's practical Post-it note stuff. I don't know what the other P would be. You'll figure that part out. Practical Post-it note projects.
Practices.
Yes.
Practices
that people are learning here today. What a giveaway. So Bruce, if people want to get involved with your stuff, where do they go? How do they do it? And then we're going to kind of wrap up.
Everything I do is my name. So my website is my name, bruceturkel.com. My email address is my name, bruce@bruceturkel.com. Any social media you go to, well, not any, I haven't been doing TikTok, but if you go to Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, it's my name. If you're interested in those particular programs, then the do-it-yourself is that all there is, .me, ITATI.me. And the one where you work with a team of really accomplished people is CE only, CEONLY.me. Thank you, Reagan, for putting those up there. It's very easy. Send me an email, send me a note. Go on and look at the sites. There's no pressure. Go on, take a look, see if it turns you on. If it's something you're interested in, let me know.
Look, the reality is that no one can do it alone, no matter how much they say they can. People build staffs with people with different skill sets, but they never really, other than billions, I've never seen a business that had a real in-house performance coach that was anywhere near as good as you are. I do want to ask you, do you have your harmonica in there in your room? You want to lead us out with a little music? I want to thank Bruce Turkel, the idea man, the innovator, the motivator, the repositioner, the coach, the guide, and my close friend. Bruce, I want to thank you so much for the invite to the private concert you had at your home the other day. It was really motivating and made me feel really special.
It was a wonderful night. Jim, thank you for having me here. You're a real resource to the community. Reagan, thank you for doing such an amazing job keeping this lunatic under control and keeping it running. You do a great job. Nobody gets to see you. Nobody knows how important what you do, what you add to this show is, but I know. Thank you for that. Bruce, stick with us as we close the show. I want to just say goodbye, privately off air, if you don't mind. I want to remind everybody, we drop a new podcast every Wednesday at noon. We've been doing this for 15 years. This is episode like 715. We're not just kidding. We're really doing it. We're working to help people's lives be better. Remember, my name is Jim Freed. My personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by bringing them peace of mind and solving problems. And whenever you call me, it's always all about you. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And we'll be on next Wednesday. Remember to join us next Wednesday. We'll be talking about my innovative approach to real estate capitalization. I want to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry, for well over a decade, the University of Florida Center for Bergstrom Studies, referred two people up there to be new donors. And if you're interested in learning more, always reach out to me. And remember, the person who wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, show us how good you are.